Welcome to Doublespeak. I'm your host and producer Casey, and the team joining me today is Liam and Oscar weeding out the lies, and Daniel making them. Oh, and Amanda, my fellow mute fact checker. Here on Doublespeak, we play a little game. Daniel has a lot of random, useless and useful knowledge, so we're going to put his skills to the test. Each episode, Daniel becomes an expert on a new topic, which he explains to Liam and Oscar in as much detail as he can be bothered. They then guess whether he's telling the truth or not. Liam and Oscar get a point if they agree with each other and get it right. Otherwise, Daniel wins and gets the point. Welcome to our first week of Doublespeak, and we're here with Daniel, who is going to be talking about toast today. So just remember that when you're deciding whether or not he's telling the truth about toast, there is about 20% of truth to every lie. So if one thing is true, that doesn't necessarily mean that everything is true, and you're just going to guess like the general gist. That is if it is false.
Yeah. God, no one's gonna get the Travis Scott joke. I need to kind of play to the audience a bit better. So
the audience?
Huh?
The audience?
I'm gonna be listening to this in my spare time. I consider myself part of the audience.
Fair.
So yeah, we're gonna be learning about toast. Like
I'm hungry.
bread too. So we're gonna go through some history about toast, some facts about toast, and some stuff on modern toast. So toast is bread that has been toasted. So it's browned and heated. So the heating causes what is called the Maillard reaction. So the Maillard reaction is the reaction that we have when things kind of brown or caramelize. So, you know, when you put like steak on the stove and it gets all brown and crispy, or cookies, when you make cookies and they get all like crusty on the outside. That's the Maillard reaction. And it's used as a solution for stale bread. And also, a lot of these facts are coming from a website called thetoast.net. It was a very, very handy website. It's all about toast. It's just a website on toast. It's all about toast. It's like toast got toast.com, toast.com. So the civilization that is credited with the creation of leavened bread is Egypt. So the difference between leavened bread and unleavened bread is one has a rising agent, one does not. Unleavened bread is like naan or roti or other sort of flatbreads are unleavened. So they don't have yeast or some sort of thing that is creating gas to help them rise. But the inventors of toast is often credited to Rome and the Romans because of the word toast. The word toast comes from Latin, tostum, which means scorched. That's Latin. And they made it by putting bread on a rock next to heat. It's rather simple. And then over time, the method of making toast has advanced, as you know, by the fact that most of us will have a toaster. So on to weird facts. 17th century France. Bakers were very, very important in France, as surely as we all know from croissants and other baked goods. So there is a quote from a man called George Sand, and he said that the power of the baker is second only to the church. And this is in the 17th century, so that's quite the hefty statement. And I'm not sure how much of this quote I can say. There's a quote from Stuart Allett, who wrote a book on histories of bread and food. The French believed the baker's oven to be the national womb. and the baguette to be the. I'm sure you can infer where that's going. It wasn't only the French who had their weird sort of infatuations with bread. In Italy, has you guys heard the saying, she's got a bun in the oven?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that actually stems from Italy. They had a tradition of copulating in wheat fields because they believed that it made it, like, gave you a higher chance of conceiving a child. Which is where the pregnancy slang, she's got a bun in the oven, came from. Another place with weird traditions around bread is England. John Aubrey recorded the practice of making cockle bread. And cockle bread, it was pretty much normal bread when it comes to the ingredients, but the way that it was kneaded by a woman sitting on it and moving back and forth and using their muscles of their buttock to knead the bread. And it was said that the bread that this was given to, they would fall in love with the person who kneaded it. So it was given to the people that the woman who needed its love interests as sort of like a weird love potion sort of thing.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
They've fallen in love with their ass.
Well, it was butt kneaded bread.
Damn, bro, you got a nice set of buns. Literally.
I don't know. Like, I feel like that would be a really weird sort of scenario.
Yeah. I sat on this for you.
Yeah. Well, not just to like do, but to walk in on or to figure out how to do.
Just, honey, today I'm gonna tell you how to make cockle bread.
Yeah. How was it passed down? That would be interesting.
Was it cooked with natural gases?
Oh, yes. And this was quite a while ago, so you can imagine sanitation may not have been the highest sort of
Yeah.
Oh, what's the word?
Priority?
Highest priority, yes. Although this was kneading the bread, so it was baked afterwards. So
Any
bacteria no lucky to fire.
I don't care if it's been cooked. I probably wouldn't eat a piece of bread if it was on someone's ass.
But what if you loved them?
Yeah, what if you fell in love with them, bro?
Then I'd eat ass.
But this is
pretty
old
ass.
English. Yeah, you do have to keep in mind, although there's butt on the bread, there's also bread on the butt. So it's it's a double-edged sword.
Man speaking facts though.
Yeah, so each sort of country that was widely exposed to the creation of bread or toast tended to create weird traditions around it because it was quite the mainstay when it came to food. Bread was very key in the French Revolution. So back around those times, there was white bread and there was brown bread. So there's been, throughout history, there was a sort of divide between those who ate brown bread and those who didn't, to the point that Julius Caesar would punish those who served it at sort of like high key meetings with death if they served brown bread to senators
instead of white.
Instead of other nicer breads.
Well, shit.
And in the French Revolution, the peasants ate coarse rye and barley bread, and that's the only option they had to buy. So they demanded that they be allowed the soft white bread that the aristocrats were allowed to eat. And there were riots, and this is in the 18th century, although this led to a bread shortage. And then Marie Antoinette suggested perhaps the rioters focus their energies elsewhere. And then there's the saying, let them eat cake. Instead of bread, the peasants began to demand heads.
Don't be a breadhead.
I mean, they need that, so.
Oh, God. Oh, the bread puns. Oh, dude, you guys are going to give me a yeast infection. Oh.
I mean, they opened up the royal coffers and found lots of dough.
Revolutionaries on the
Although,
rise.
have you heard of the saying, I can't remember what it is in Latin, but bread and circuses?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, bread has been very influential throughout history, although, like, toast to a lesser extent, often because that's lumped under the sort of bread thing. Bread was also used as a currency on occasion because of how universally loved it was. Workers on the pyramids were paid in bread and beer. Now, the beer back then is slightly different to the beer now, much like the wine from Greece is different to the wine that we have now, ancient Greece. It wasn't as alcoholic, and it was more of a sort of way to stop water from, like a drink that you could have that wouldn't spoil and wouldn't go off at the same rate, right? Although the longer that they left it, often the more alcohol that it generated. But yes, they were paid. So they weren't technically slaves that built the pyramids. They were paid workers, but they were paid in food, accommodation, and beer, and onions as well. Yeah.
God.
Although, like, if I was working on a pyramid and then I ate an onion, onions are like really flavorful. People used to make baked onions, like we make baked potatoes.
I'm just thinking like the stool.
Are you channeling Tony Abbott here? Like, what's going on?
Gonna eat it like a fresh apple. Just like,
Confirmed. Tony Abbott was one of the pharaohs. If he eats it, so must they.
although, like a baked onion sounds nice. Like you get
Yeah.
like the onions you put on a sausage.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
They can caramelize. Yeah. I see.
The mild reaction.
I suppose that they just hold them to the sun and they go, oh yeah, it's all soft now. Let's eat it.
I'm meaning more in like England. It's an old English recipe to roast a potato, and you can roast an onion as well. So you can fill it with other stuff if you want, but often it was just put in the oven for a while. Like you take off the skin, put it in the oven, and then you smash it. You put like the flat of a knife on it, push it down, it cracks, and then you can eat it with a fork or your hands. Because onions were often very plentiful.
Also, apparently, knead bread with your arse for your lover.
Mm.
England's a weird place. Don't go there.
Yeah. So we're on to modern day facts about toast. So about 80% of American homes have a toaster. 88% of American homes have a toaster. Which is honestly, I'd say that's a lot lower than I thought it would be. I thought it would be pretty much 100%.
True.
And you have to factor into account poverty and things like that. Not everyone can afford a toaster or even bread. And also location where people will be living. Toast isn't that important to have a toaster.
Although, I'm not quite sure about how the amount of people who have had toasters has progressed. I'm not sure whether it could be going down, though. Because I don't imagine people would be eating toast as often as they used to be. Because bread is quite most bread tends to be considered a poor food, right? Bread, like loaf of bread is like $2. You would like toast is very cheap, very sort of efficient, not bad for you really, breakfast or lunch or whatever. Um, that 88% could have been closer to 100 earlier, or it could be going the other direction where people are getting more toasters. Because I know that at least a method that we use in Scouts to toast bread is we have this weird like pyramid sort of thing. It's got little ledges on the side. You put 4 pieces of bread on it, and then you put it over a gas stove or something, and it toasts the bread.
Oh, yeah.
It's always burnt, but it's warm
It's bread.
toast. Yeah. So a form of toaster was invented in 1893, although it was kind of trash. The first pop-up toaster, like similar to the ones that we have today, was invented by Charles Strite, who created it out of spite because of the constant burnt toast at his work cafeteria. And this was 8 years before the invention of commercial sliced bread.
So, Strite's spite invented the toaster.
Yes. Strite, out of spite, made the toaster. And sliced bread was invented 8 years later.
So were they just like, what did they? So commercially sliced bread was invented later. So they still slice their bread non-commercially.
People have been cutting bread for many years.
But
you couldn't buy bread before. So 1928 is when sliced bread was started being sold, and 1920 was when the toaster was invented. A toaster with a timer as well. That was a big selling point of it, that the toast couldn't burn because you'd set a timer knowing how long it's going to take for the toast to cook. Like, you'd figure it out, and then it wouldn't burn because it would always pop up after that point.
I guess that gave the incentive for commercially sliced bread, because suddenly you have this toaster that cooks the perfect toast. People want to buy pre-sliced bread they don't have to already cut.
Yes, yeah.
I'm just imagining. I'm just imagining people being like, "Thanks, Strite, for this new invention. Now I can finally eat this bread that my girlfriend has sat on and cooked for me."
Although, if you think about it, the invention of sliced bread was most likely directly affected by the invention of the pop-up toaster, because with the invention of convenience, other things that were only slightly inconvenient before and are still about the same level of inconvenience seem much worse in comparison to something that is now a lot easier. So before, when you had to slice your own bread and then toast it over a stovetop maybe, or toast it in a pan, or however else you did it, slicing the bread wasn't actually that difficult in comparison to actually making the toast. But then when the toaster came around, your toast was done for you almost entirely. So now 100% of your task is slicing the bread. So the likelihood is that someone was looking at the toaster, pissed off that they have to slice bread, then invented sliced bread.
Why don't we just slice the bread in the factory?
Yes.
Sliced bread, the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Sliced bread, the greatest thing since the toaster.
Why did it take 8 years?
Well, I mean, time.
Design a machine that works and cuts efficiently every single time.
Yeah, I mean, 1893 was when the idea of a toaster was sort of made, and it was
like 30
27 years between that and the pop-up timer toaster, and then another 8 years for sliced bread. But 1928, that's not as long ago as I thought it would. I thought it would be a lot longer. Although, I mean, that is nearly 100 years.
Yeah, I guess we feel
we would have had sliced bread for longer.
I feel like we look at anything in the 1900s as pretty recent, and I guess in terms of the age of the Earth, yeah, it is, but the age of mankind, not necessarily, especially in the age of technology. So I think early 1900s, they were still figuring a lot of stuff out, and toasters were not high on their priority list, so that's why it only came then.
I just want to high five the dude that came up with sliced bread, because the saying of the greatest things since sliced bread has been around for almost 100 years.
Yes, yeah. But as you can imagine, sliced bread being invented definitely increased the popularity of toasters. Because now they were just that much more convenient. It's like a 2-package. You buy a toast and you buy a sliced bread,
Yeah, comes hand in hand.
and now it's all pretty much done for you.
Got the toaster, got the sliced bread. Now all I need is a house.
So, some more statistics. In America, 75 million people eat toast each day, and 10% of those would rather eat toast rather than have sex in the morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they want their significant other to sit on the bread first?
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe they're eating cockle bread. Like,
It's
sorry,
still done.
sorry, partner. I've already got my feed imprinted.
The only cock I like is cockle bread.
But yes, that is toast, and it's a brief history of toast.
And a beautiful brief history it is.
So we have to figure out whether toast exists.
Or just whether he's giving us the correct information about toast.
Okay.
Because he could be lying out the pants of his ass. We know toast exists, but like he could, like, all those people may never have said any of that. He may be making up the dates, names, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before about the like 20% truth thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
20% of
there's
the
a little
toast
bit of truth.
So what do you think he's lying about if he is then?
I reckon probably some of the quotes. Like if he was to be lying about something, I feel it would be the quotes and the strange uses of bread, kind of things like that.
I don't know. Everyone's weird.
Everyone is weird, and that's why I think like it's plausible. You know, like Yogi Georgiev or whatever his name was, Gorginsky or whatever. He was plausible, and he was true. I feel this is very plausible.
I mean, it is extremely plausible that toast exists. I'm just trying to figure out which part of it he'd be lying about if he was.
Toast
'Cause-
definitely exists.
We know toast exists.
Oh, I'm going to put my foot down saying toast exists.
You're putting your foot down saying yes, it's true? Or just that toast exists?
I'm going to put my foot down and say yes, it's true. The history of toast.
Yeah,
I was
I'm
gonna say, we're
believing the
not
history
arguing
of
about
toast.
whether or not toast exists.
Yeah, toast definitely
yeah.
exists. It's whether or not the information I've given you is full of farce or actual factual.
No, I believe these stats. And after this, if it's false, I'm going to look up if there is a toast.net or whatever you said it was, toast.com. Because I want to know.
I want to go to this place. I want to work there. It sounds lovely.
I love toast. Like,
I would much rather have toast in the morning. Oh, God.
Saying it like we have the option. I have to eat toast.
But only toast. That's all that I have.
When
I feel
you're
like the
bored,
worst
you
thing
have one of two options.
I've never felt the touch of a woman, but I felt the touch of toast. Fuck! But Space Jammer, but I felt the touch of toast.
I feel like the worst thing to do to that 10% is, if you ever are in a relationship with them, take the toaster and the divorce.
Ooh, that's cruel.
No, you're not allowed toast. I have the toast. I am the toast king.
I'm the toast winner.
I think Oscar and I are in agreement that
So you're both
yeah, that is true.
set in stone.
Yeah.
All right. What are we doing for the reveal? A drum roll?
That was my attempt at a drum roll.
You can air one on later.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Insert
with
drum
space
roll.
for drum roll.
Yeah.
It's true.
Hey!
Nah, it was too good to be true. They were too good not to
Yeah.
be true. It was just like, yeah, no, there's got to be.
There were just lots of facts where I went, okay, that's interesting. That is also interesting. That
Yeah,
sounds
like,
real.
why would he make this up? You know, like how? I mean, I know it's Daniel, and he would do it just for the fun of it to piss us off. But like, how far could he go deep into making up facts
You
about
guys are
Poe?
gonna be really, really easy brick when we do one that's false.
Jesus.
All of
I
this
mean-
is just like, it's not that all this stuff wouldn't be too hard to make up.
Oh yeah, I know. That's the thing. It's hard to like.
Do you guys want to see what
nitpick.
cockle bread looks like?
Cockle bread? Sure. Does
Yeah.
it just have big
Sure.
arse in front?
Oh fuck! I accidentally sent the cockle bread rhyme.
Because I knew that the cockle bread rhyme existed, so I was like, surely cockle bread exists, but I just didn't know if it was true that it was, needed by someone's ass.
I mean, it might just be an urban legend, but it's definitely not something that we made up.
Hmm.
That don't look
That's
like
the rhyme.
ass. That looks like.
This is a fact. Don't blame us for it.
Anyway, that's all we've got for this week. Come join
Yay.
us next week.
Did I mess up that last line? Sorry.